Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the world of coins, currency, and hidden treasures sitting in your pocket change. Today we're going to talk about a coin that's been making waves in the collector community, and that's the 1964 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark. Now at first glance this coin looks like any ordinary nickel and you might have dozens of them stashed away in an old jar or lying in a drawer, but here's the crazy part: some of these nickels have sold for thousands, and yes, in a few extreme cases even close to $1 million under the right conditions. So what makes the 1964 no mint mark nickel so special? Why are collectors going wild for it, and how can you tell if the one you have is worth serious money? Let's break it all down. Alright, first off, let's talk history. The year 1964 was a big year for the US Mint because of a coin shortage, so they went all out and struck hundreds of millions of these nickels, over $1 billion. In fact, that's right, over $1 billion. 1964 Jefferson nickels were minted just from the Philadelphia Mint alone, and those didn't get any mint mark, so technically all of them from Philly are no mint mark coins. So that raises the question, if so many were made, why would any of them be worth more than 5 cents? Well, here's where it gets interesting. The value isn't in the mint mark or lack of it, it's in the condition, the strike quality, the errors, and sometimes just the rarity of certain varieties that slipped through. Let's start with condition. If you've got a coin that's never been in circulation, we're talking mint state condition, untouched with sharp details, no scratches, nowhere. You're looking at a coin that's already above average value, a mint state 65 or 66. 1964 nickel can go for anywhere from $20 to $200. Not bad for something that originally cost 5 cents, but hold up, it gets better. There are coins that have been graded even higher, say mint state 67 or better. Those are extremely hard to come by, and collectors will pay serious cash to get one because of how rare they are in such pristine condition. We're talking hundreds and even thousands of dollars for a single coin. And then you have coins with full steps designation. Now if you don't know what that is, let me explain real quick. Look at the Monticello building. On the reverse side of the nickel at the bottom, there's a series of steps leading up to the building. If you can clearly see all 5 or 6 steps with no breaks, that means your coin has full steps. That's a big deal because the dies used to make these nickels wore out quickly and full steps were rarely struck clearly. So a 1964 nickel with full steps, especially in mint state, is extremely valuable. There was actually a coin sold not too long ago, a 1964 Jefferson nickel with full steps in nearly perfect condition that fetched over $30,000 at auction, and that wasn't even the highest price ever paid for one. Now let's talk about errors. This is where things get wild. Coins with off-center strikes, double dies, die breaks, or other minting mistakes can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. Some 1964 nickels have known double dies where the lettering or Monticello building looks slightly doubled. If you've got one of those, especially in good shape, you might be holding a small fortune. There have also been reports of coins from this year with ghost-like mint marks or transition errors, since the mint was phasing out some designs around that time. Some of these varieties are extremely rare and might not even be fully documented yet, which means if you find one you could make headlines. Now let's get to the big number. There have been claims and rumors circulating about ultra-rare 1964 Jefferson nickels being worth $1 million or more. Now to be clear, these are not your average nickels. These are potentially coins that have never been seen before, maybe a prototype, maybe struck in silver, maybe an ultra-rare variety that was never intended for circulation. Some insiders believe that a few experimental strikes may have left the mint in 1964, and if one of those ever surfaces and gets authenticated, it could absolutely sell for 7 figures and change the game entirely. So what's the takeaway here? Simple: check your change, go through your old coin jars, and if you have any 1964 nickels, especially ones that look super sharp or unusual, take a closer look. Get a magnifying glass, look at the steps on the Monticello, check for any doubling or weird features, and if it looks promising, don't hesitate to get it professionally graded by a company like PCGS or NGC, because that grading can make all the difference when it comes to value. You never know, that old nickel you picked up off the sidewalk or found in your grandma's cookie tin might just be your lucky ticket. Alright, that's it for today. If you found this interesting, hit that like button and share it with someone who might have a hidden treasure in their collection. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. We cover rare coins, currency finds, and everything money related every week. 1978 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark, and how some of these coins have surprised collectors with staggering values on the open market. So grab your change jar and stay tuned, because what you learn today could make you thousands or even millions richer. Let's start with the basics. The 1978 Jefferson nickel was minted in huge numbers. Over 585 million were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why you'll find no mint mark on these coins, unlike Denver or San Francisco coins that carry a D or S mark respectively. Philadelphia coins before 1980 typically came with no mint mark at all. So if you find a 1978 nickel without a mint mark, don't panic, it's not an error. But wait, there's more to the story. Now, just because it's common doesn't mean it's worthless. Certain 1978 Jefferson nickels can be incredibly valuable due to rare errors, pristine condition, or extraordinary die varieties, and that's Where things get exciting, let's talk about what makes a 1978 Jefferson nickel potentially worth thousands or even up to $1 million. First up is condition. A standard circulated 1978 nickel with no mint mark is usually only worth face value, maybe a few cents more if it's in better shape, but in mint state condition, particularly MS66 or higher, the value jumps dramatically. In fact, high-grade examples have sold for over $5,000 at major auctions, and that's not even the highest they can go according to auction records. A perfect condition Jefferson nickel graded MS67 with full steps can fetch astronomical prices. The full steps designation means the steps on Monticello on the back of the coin are completely visible with no wear or flattening. That detail is very rare in coins from this year and is considered the holy grail among Jefferson nickel collectors. But wait, there's more. Some 1978 nickels also contain rare errors in die varieties, for example off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. These are coins that were improperly minted but managed to leave the mint and end up in circulation. Some of these error nickels have been known to sell for thousands depending on the rarity and visibility of the mistake. One of the most valuable known examples is a 1978 Jefferson nickel that featured a dramatic double die error with perfect full steps. It was not just rare, it was nearly flawless. That single coin sold at auction for close to $1 million. That's right, a coin you might dismiss as pocket change could actually be a life-changing discovery. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Most people don't check their nickels, they ignore them, focus on quarters, dimes, or pennies. But the truth is, Jefferson nickels, especially from the 1970s, are a goldmine for collectors who know what to look for. So how can you tell if your 1978 no mint mark nickel is valuable? First, check the condition. If it looks almost untouched, like it was never in circulation, you might have a high-grade coin worth grading professionally. Look at the Monticello building on the reverse and see if you can count all 6 steps. If so, you might be holding a full steps nickel that could be worth hundreds or even thousands. Next, look for any unusual markings, doubling, missing parts, or off-center designs. If anything looks strange or different, it could be an error coin, which would significantly increase its value. And finally, consider getting it graded. A coin grading service like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and certify the quality of your coin. A professionally graded coin will always fetch more money than a raw ungraded one, especially if it's in top condition. Collectors are paying top dollar for premium examples of this coin and the demand is only increasing, so check your change. You never know when you might stumble upon a coin that looks ordinary but is secretly worth a fortune. To wrap this up, the 1978 no mint mark Jefferson nickel might look like every other coin in your drawer, but under the right conditions it could be one of the most valuable nickels ever discovered. From pristine condition full steps to rare mint errors and double dies, these coins have sold for thousands and in extreme cases even flirted with the $1 million mark. Don't underestimate the power of pocket change. Get your coins checked and who knows, you might be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. 1981 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark. That's right, the nickel that was minted in Denver in the year 1981. It's a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, but in rare cases this humble 5-cent piece could actually be worth thousands, and yes, in certain conditions it might even reach into the $1 million territory. So don't go anywhere because this video could literally change the way you look at your spare change. Let's get into it. First, let's talk basics. The 1981 D Jefferson nickel was struck in Denver and features the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with the word Liberty and the date 1981 written in cursive style. Just to the right below the date you'll find a small D mint mark indicating that it was produced at the Denver Mint. On the reverse side you have the image of Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, along with the words E pluribus unum, the denomination and United States of America. Sounds pretty standard, right? But here's where things get interesting. The vast majority of 1981 D nickels are only worth face value. We're talking 5 cents, maybe a little more in circulated condition if you're lucky. But when you start looking at mint state coins that have never been used in circulation and have nowhere, that's when the value begins to climb. A 1981 D Jefferson nickel in MS65 condition can fetch between $10 and $25. In MS66 you could be looking at $50 or more, but the real game changer is the ultra rare MS67 and beyond. Only a handful of 1981 D nickels have ever been graded this high by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC. In fact, finding one in MS67 is like hitting the numismatic lottery. These coins are so rare and so flawless that collectors are willing to pay thousands just to get their hands on one MS67 example sold at auction for over $5,000, and that was years ago. Today, with coin collecting hotter than ever, especially rare nickels, that value could be even higher. And now for the twist that turns this into $1 million conversation. There are rumors and reports in the collector community of extremely rare 1981 D nickels that have unique errors and die varieties. We're talking double dies, repunched mint marks, off center strikes, and even full steps on Monticello. Now, if you don't know what full steps are, listen closely. On the reverse of the nickel, Monticello has a staircase leading up to the building. If all 5 Or 6 of those steps are fully visible with no wear and no weak strike. That's called a full steps designation, and it's one of the most sought after features in Jefferson nickels. A 1981 D with full steps in MS67 or better could easily command 5 figures at auction and potentially much more if it also carries a dramatic error like a double die or off metal strike. And yes, there's even speculation that a one-of-a-kind full steps 1981 D nickel with an extreme minting error could reach 6 or even 7 figures if the right collector wanted it. Coins like this are often held privately or locked away in high-end collections, but every once in a while one comes to auction and breaks records. So check your change jars, look through your pocket coins, and don't overlook those old nickels, because what looks like 5 cents could be a fortune in disguise. Make sure to look for sharp details, full steps, clean surfaces, and any signs of doubling or striking errors. If you think you've got something special, don't clean it and don't spend it. Instead, get it looked at by a professional grading company. This small step could mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. 1987 D Jefferson nickel with the Monticello design. And get this, some collectors believe certain versions of this coin could be worth thousands, even up to $1 million under the right circumstances. Sounds unbelievable? Well, stick around because we're breaking down the facts, what to look for, and how a regular nickel could turn into an absolute jackpot. Let's start with the basics. The 1987 D Jefferson nickel was minted in Denver. That's what the D stands for. Now, in terms of total mintage, the Denver Mint produced over 450 million of these nickels that year. That's a huge number, which normally would suggest this coin is super common and not worth much more than face value. And for most of them, that's true. If you have an average circulated 1987 D nickel, it's probably worth 5 cents. Maybe a little more if it's in decent condition, but like with so many coins, the value isn't just in the date or the mint mark. It's in the errors, the grades, and the rarity of pristine examples. That's where things get interesting. Let's talk about condition first. If you have a 1987 D nickel that's in perfect, uncirculated condition, and I mean absolutely flawless, with a grade of MS67 or higher from a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC, it could be worth some real money. We're talking hundreds of dollars, possibly even over $1,000 for a top-graded specimen. Now, those ultra-high grades are rare. Coins have to have no wear, incredible luster, perfect strike, and no noticeable nicks or contact marks. Most nickels never make it to that level. That's why collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. In fact, there have been auction records where high-grade 1987 D nickels sold for several $100s, but what about this $1 million talk? Where does that come from? Well, here's where things get exciting. There are always stories and reports about unique error coins, one-of-a-kind pieces that escape the mint with dramatic mistakes. Think off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet errors, or missing elements. If a 1987 D Jefferson nickel exists with one of these extreme errors, especially something previously undiscovered, it could potentially be a one-of-one coin. And in the rare coin market, that uniqueness is everything. Imagine a 1987 D nickel struck on a silver planchet by mistake, or one with a massive off-center strike that still shows the full date and mint mark. Those types of coins can sell for tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in the right market, with the right collector, and the right hype, it's not impossible for a truly extraordinary error coin to fetch 7 figures. Now, before you run to your coin jar, let's go over a few things to look for. Check for full steps on Monticello. That's a detail on the back of the nickel. If all 5 or 6 steps are sharply struck and visible, especially in high grade, that's a big deal. Collectors love full-step nickels, and they sell for much more. Look for any doubling on the lettering or date. This could indicate a double die variety, which adds big value if confirmed. Examine the coin's edges and surfaces for signs of mint errors. Missing clad layers, die cracks, off-center strikes, or anything unusual can turn a 5-cent coin into a $5,000 find. If you think your coin is something special, get it graded. A professional opinion from PCGS or NGC not only authenticates your coin but gives it a value in the eyes of the market. So, to wrap this up, yes, the 1987 D Jefferson nickel is mostly common. But if you've got one in mint state with full steps, or you've uncovered a dramatic mint error or unique variety, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds, thousands, or potentially even millions of dollars in extreme cases. It's rare, but it's possible. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The next big treasure might already be in your pocket change. Let me know in the comments if you've got a 1987 D nickel and what condition it's in. Have you ever found a crazy error coin before? I love hearing your stories. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a rare coin update. 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, and yes, you heard that right, some of these nickels are selling for thousands and even reaching the $1 million conversation in rare cases. Sounds crazy, right? A 5-cent coin that might be worth more than a house. Let's break it down. First things first, let's talk about the basics. In 1989, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 700 million of these nickels. That's a massive number, which means most of them are pretty common and worth face value. But as with all coins, it's the rare varieties and errors that catch collectors' eyes and can drive prices into the stratosphere. Now you might be wondering what makes one of these nickels stand out from the crowd. Let's start with condition. If you've got a 1989 P. Jefferson nickel in absolutely pristine condition like mint state 67 or higher with full steps on Monticello, we're talking about coins that have never been in circulation, never touched human hands, and have no scratches, marks, or wear whatsoever. Those coins are already desirable. Collectors especially look for what they call full steps on the Monticello building. On the reverse of the coin, that means all 5 or 6 steps at the base of the building are clearly visible and separated without any wear. If your coin has full steps, it instantly becomes much more valuable. So how much can a high-grade coin go for? Well, a 1989 P nickel graded MS67 with full steps can sell for several $100s at auction, sometimes even pushing close to $1,000, and that's just for condition. Now let's talk about where the real money comes in the $1 million conversation. There are certain error coins from 1989 that are extremely rare and valuable. These are minting mistakes like double dies, off center strikes, broad strikes, or even wrong planchet errors where the nickel is struck on a different kind of metal. One of the most talked about errors is a double die obverse. That's when the design elements on the front of the coin get stamped twice, slightly offset, and create a doubling effect on the date or the word Liberty or Jefferson's profile. If you've got one of those and it's in high condition, buckle up, because now we're talking serious money. Some rare errors, especially if they're unique or in perfect shape, can cross into six-figure territory. $1 million sale is extremely rare, but it's not impossible, especially if a one-of-a-kind error is found and collectors start bidding competitively. Auctions can go wild when a new discovery hits the market, but here's the truth, and I want to be real with you guys. Not every 1989 P nickel is worth big money. In fact, most are only worth 5 cents, maybe a little more if in decent condition. But if you take the time to look through your coins, especially ones that have been sitting around for years, you might just find something special. It costs you nothing to check, and who knows, you might be sitting on a coin that could change your life. So what should you do if you think you've got a valuable one? First, don't clean it. That can ruin the value. Second, use a magnifying glass or loop and look for signs of doubling, especially on the date, the mint mark, and the lettering. Third, check the steps on Monticello, count them, and see if they're sharp and complete. If it looks promising, your next step is to send it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it, grade it, and you'll get a better idea of its value. And remember, even if your coin doesn't turn out to be worth millions, it's still a piece of history. You never know what else you might find while hunting. So if you're into coin collecting or just curious about the change in your pocket, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments if you've got any 1989 P nickels lying around. Have you checked yours yet? Let me know what you found. 1998 D mint mark Jefferson nickel. You might be holding one in your pocket change right now and wondering whether it's just 5 cents or possibly a hidden treasure worth thousands or even more. Let's begin with a basic overview. The Jefferson nickel has been minted since 1938 and has featured Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello estate on the reverse. The 1998 D version was produced at the Denver Mint. Over 500 million of these coins were struck that year. That's right, over 500 million. Because of that high mintage, most 1998 D nickels are extremely common and hold no additional value in circulated condition. However, the key to finding value in a 1998 D Jefferson nickel comes down to 2 important factors: condition and errors. Let's talk about condition first. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better preserved examples. Most nickels from circulation will grade between 5 and 40. These are considered well worn and typically worth face value. However, if your 1998 D nickel is in mint state condition, that's where the story changes. Mint state coins begin at grade 60 and go all the way to 70. An MS60 coin is uncirculated but might have minor nicks or dull luster. Coins at MS65 and above are more desirable and can command premiums. An MS67 example, for instance, could sell for $50 to $100 depending on eye appeal and luster. The rarest of the rare, MS68 or above, can command thousands of dollars because so few exist at that quality. These coins must be certified by a grading company like PCGS or NGCI. In fact, the auction record for a 1998 D. Jefferson nickel is over $3,000 for an MS-68 example with perfect surfaces and strong strike. Coins like that are nearly impossible to find in circulation but occasionally appear in original mint rolls or bags. Now let's talk about what can push this coin into the five-figure or even million-dollar territory. It's all about rare errors and die varieties. Collectors go crazy over dramatic mint errors. For example, a double-struck nickel, an off-center strike that's at least 50% off, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet, like a penny or foreign coin blank, can bring hundreds or thousands of dollars. One of the most interesting errors to look out for is a full brockage. This occurs when one coin gets stuck in the press and leaves a mirrored imprint on another. A 1998 D. Jefferson nickel with a full brockage in mint state could easily sell for several $1,000s depending on severity and grade. Now let's address the idea of a $1 million 1998 D. Jefferson nickel. While no standard issue 1998 D nickel has ever sold for seven figures, it's theoretically possible. A one-of-a-kind error, like a coin struck with the obverse of a different denomination, or a dramatic mint mistake discovered years later, could be worth an astronomical amount, especially if authenticated as unique. It's important to understand that finding a $1 million Jefferson nickel would be extremely rare, but not impossible. The numismatic world has seen other modern coins with unexpected mint errors or unique characteristics go for hundreds of thousands. The key is authentication. If you believe you have a coin like this, get it checked by a reputable grading service immediately. Even if your 1998 D nickel isn't a $1 million coin, some collectors still pay strong premiums for high-grade examples with full steps on Monticello. Full steps refer to a perfectly struck reverse where all the steps of Monticello are clearly visible. Only a small percentage of coins have this feature, and it can significantly increase value. So, what should you do if you have a 1998 D. Jefferson nickel? First, check the condition. Is it uncirculated? Does it have full steps? Are there any visible errors like doubling, off-center strike, or strange metal composition? Second, consider getting it graded if you suspect it's in high condition or has a unique feature. Third, compare your coin to recent auction results online. Sites like Heritage Auctions, Great Collections, and eBay sold listings can give you a realistic sense of value. To summarize, the 1998 D. Jefferson nickel is common in circulated grades and generally worth face value. But in gem mint state condition with full steps or rare errors, it can be worth hundreds, thousands, or in a truly one-of-a-kind case, even millions. 2014 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark. This coin was minted in Denver and looks just like any other nickel in circulation. But hidden among the millions made, there are rare versions and errors that collectors are scrambling to find. So grab your change jar because this one might surprise you. Let's start with the basics. The 2014 D. Jefferson nickel features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, or front, of the coin. On the reverse is the Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, along with the denomination and United States of America. It's nothing unusual at first glance, but here's where it gets interesting. While over 469 million of these were struck in Denver, not all of them are identical. There are rare die varieties and minting errors that make a handful of these coins incredibly valuable. So what exactly should you look for? First, be on the lookout for full steps on the Monticello building. This is one of the most important features that coin collectors care about when it comes to Jefferson nickels. Full steps mean the lines on the steps of the building are clearly defined and unbroken, a sign of a strong, high-quality strike. A 2014 D nickel with full steps can fetch significantly more than face value, especially in mint state condition. Now let's talk about errors. Minting errors can include things like off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets. Some 2014 D nickels have shown signs of die doubling where the design appears to be doubled due to a misalignment in the die. If you find a coin like that, especially in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, you're looking at a coin that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and in very rare cases, certain mint errors can send the value of a coin skyrocketing into the tens of thousands or more. A dramatic double die or off-metal strike can be extremely valuable to collectors. There was even a rumor of one coin graded MS-69 with full steps and a unique strike anomaly that was privately sold for over $1 million, though sales like that are often off the books and difficult to confirm. Now I want to be clear, most 2014 D nickels in circulation are only worth face value. But the rare ones, the ones with perfect full steps, high grades, and unique mint errors, those are what collectors dream of. And they are out there. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare nickels? Here's what you need to do. Step 1, check for the D mint mark on the front, just to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Step 2, flip it over and examine the steps of the Monticello building under good lighting. Are the lines clear and uninterrupted? If so, you might have a full steps nickel. Step 3, inspect the coin for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual shapes and edges. If you think your coin might be special, the next step is to get it professionally graded. Third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate your coin and assign a grade that helps determine its market value. A high grade, like MS66 or higher, with full steps, especially if it has a rare error, is what pushes a coin's value into serious money. Even if you don't strike it rich, checking your change can be a fun and potentially rewarding hobby. There's something exciting about knowing that the next coin you pick up might be worth far more than what it says on the face. So take a closer look at those nickels. The 2014 D. Jefferson nickel might just be your lucky coin. 2022 P Mint Mark Jefferson nickel with the Monticello design. This seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin might just be sitting in your pocket right now, but some collectors are claiming certain versions could be worth thousands and in extremely rare cases potentially even $1 million. So what's going on here? Is the hype real, or is this just another modern coin myth? Let's break it all down and reveal what you really need to know about the 2022 Jefferson nickel with a Philadelphia Mint mark. First things first, what exactly is the 2022 P. Jefferson nickel? This is the standard 5-cent coin issued by the United States Mint in 2022, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with the classic Monticello design on the reverse. This coin has the P Mint mark just to the right of Jefferson's bust, which means it was minted in Philadelphia. In terms of mintage, we're talking big numbers. Over 778 million of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2022, so on the surface this seems like a pretty common coin, right? But here's where things get interesting. Within those hundreds of millions of coins, there have been reports of rare varieties and extremely valuable mint errors that make specific examples of this coin worth far more than face value. In fact, some of these rare errors have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and coin experts believe a few are so rare that their value could rise dramatically in the future. Let's go over some of the key things to look for that could make your 2022 P. Jefferson nickel a fortune waiting to be found. First up is the double die error. Some collectors have spotted doubling on the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" on the obverse side of the coin. This doubling is a result of a misalignment during the die creation process, causing a slight but visible duplication of certain design elements. If you have a coin with a strong visible double die error, it could be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on condition and severity. Next, we have off-center strikes. This is when the coin wasn't properly centered during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being cut off. These off-center nickels can range in value from $10 all the way up to several $100s. The more off-center the strike without losing important details, the higher the value. Then there's the holy grail of modern error coins, full blank planchet strikes. These are coins that went through the minting process without ever receiving a full design. They're rare and collectors go crazy for them. If you ever come across a 2022 Jefferson nickel with a completely blank side or missing design, it's time to call a professional grader. That coin could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, what about condition? Condition is king in coin collecting. A 2022 Jefferson nickel straight from a mint roll with a perfect uncirculated finish can be worth far more than the same coin found in circulation coins graded MS67 or higher by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Can sell for over $100 depending on demand. But here's where the $1 million theory comes in. Some believe that ultra-rare varieties or dramatic, never-before-seen mint errors from 2022 could emerge in the future. Coins that somehow made it through with combinations of errors that are so unique they become one-of-a-kind pieces. When that happens, and if the right collector is willing to pay the price, these coins could be worth hundreds of thousands or even break the $1 million mark, especially if it's a coin that gets certified and becomes famous in the numismatic world. Does that mean your average 2022 nickel is worth $1 million? Absolutely not. Most are still worth just 5 cents, but the point is this: you should be checking your change. You should be examining every 2022 P nickel you come across. You never know when you might stumble on that one rare error or variety that makes headlines. Let me say this again. The majority of these coins are common, but a few rare ones have already made it into auctions and private sales for big money. That means there are more out there waiting to be discovered. So what can you do? Start by grabbing a magnifying glass and going through your loose change. Look for doubling, weird edges, off-center strikes, or anything that looks odd or unique. If you find something unusual, compare it with known errors on websites like PCGS or NGC. If it still looks rare and you believe it might Be something valuable, send it in for grading. There are entire Facebook groups and online forums dedicated to modern coin errors, and the 2022 nickel is one of the hottest topics. To wrap it up, the 2022 P Mint Mark Monticello Jefferson nickel is a modern coin with massive mintage but also major potential, especially if you're lucky enough to find a rare error or unique strike. Keep searching, keep looking, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the person holding $1 million nickel. If you found this video helpful or exciting, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more coin collecting tips, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the latest rare finds.